Nathaniel Hackett, hired as offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. I know you want to vomit in your mouth as much as I do on the surface, but this is more complicated than that. There's more potential avenues for this to go in both negative and positive directions. I'm going to break it all down. The Fantasy Football Show, it begins right now. File on in, hit that thumb up button on your way in the door. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Smitty. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show, and we have quite a bit to talk about relating to a lot of players that we love and are excited about walking into 2023 and beyond. And one of those players being Breece Hall, one of them being Garrett Wilson. Speaking about the OC hiring of Nathaniel Hackett in New York, which makes every single one of us want to vomit in our mouth on the surface level, because we saw this man destroy Javonte Williams, or at least the value of Javonte Williams walking into the 2022 season, and just having this committee going on. And then finally, when Javonte gets injured and is out for the year, he decides to move on from Melvin Gordon. And fantasy owners didn't get a chance to see Javonte get the full workhorse volume. He had the worst offense in the National Football League. He is horrible at clock management. He's just incompetent in so many ways that this is kind of scary. You know, on the surface level, that Nathaniel Hackett is hired as OC, and it's scary. Like, it's scary on the surface, but what this means is, and Keyshawn Johnson said this on TV just an hour ago, that I can almost bet my right arm it's going to happen, talking about Aaron Rodgers going to the New York Jets. Joe Namath said yesterday that he's willing to unretire the number 12, if Aaron Rodgers does land in New York. New York is a place I envision Aaron Rodgers. When I close my eyes and try and picture this man in another helmet, I see New York. Hackett was brought into Denver partly, if you guys remember last year, to lure in Aaron Rodgers. It didn't work. So this is almost like a nightmare of a repeat situation if the Jets don't bring in Aaron Rodgers. Now, if the Jets bring in Lamar or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, any one of the three, it's a win. And every single one of those quarterbacks can't be held back by Hackett, okay? And Hackett has had some success as an offensive coordinator. He didn't even call the plays in Green Bay. You know, so there's more to it than this. He's not the head coach. He's not in charge of personnel. I'm sure that Salah is going to lean a lot on him in terms of deciding who to bring in and everything. I get that. I'm not an idiot. And I do have some concerns. I'm not blindly going into this going, look, we got Breece Hall as a moon man. We've got Garrett Wilson as a moon man. We're going to hit bumps in the road. We're going to hit situations where we got to adjust and adapt, even on our bold predictions and moon men and Mars men list. It's going to happen. We're not going to just have an easy path. It's not going to always be butterflies and rose petals for us in terms of the fantasy football predictions and things that are getting dropped. Hit that thumb up button on your way in the door. Your boy Smitty appreciates it. I work for you. And I went live a little early today to discuss this topic and get right into some fantasy football content, because I just didn't want to wait until 7 p.m. Eastern. So we're about I don't know, 12 to 15 minutes early. This, to me, has the writing on the wall. Now, the Green Bay Packers have to agree on the trade. This is not a foregone conclusion that just because the Jets bring in Hackett, just like Denver did, that the Packers are just on board with whatever they want to do. The Packers might be able to hold them over the coals now and say, we're going to get more out of you than you were going to give up now. Now we know what you're invested in. I think the Jets wouldn't bow down to anything they wanted, but I think the Jets have put themselves in a weird position to announce this so early and play their hand, you know. But I do ultimately think this gets done, because you've got to keep in mind, even though a trade must take place, the Packers, everything we're hearing, the Packers want to move on. Despite signing Aaron Rodgers to a massive contract, one of which that will make the New York Jets have to pay $60 million for 2023. Whoever acquires Aaron Rodgers will have to pay $60 million to Aaron Rodgers in 2023. Now, the Jets have said will spare no expense. So money's not a concern for the Jets. They don't care about the $60 million. So throw that out the window as a concern or a worry that this can't get done. They don't care. They will spare no expense. They have the defense. They have the offense. They have the weapons. They have Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. They've got Breece Hall. Aaron Rodgers has arguably never had the amount of talent that he will have in New York. Defense and offense combined. He has Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, 3 weapons that I believe are probably better than he's ever had sum total in his entire career. And I know that sounds bold, but we're being bold on Garrett Wilson. This is being predictive on how good Garrett Wilson is going to appear to the rest of the world. We love Garrett Wilson massively.
The moon men dropping loads in outer space.
We've got 3 players tied to this exact situation at hand right now. We have Christian Watson down at the bottom right tied to this situation. We have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall tied to this situation. We have a lot relying on this situation ironing out well. I'm worried. I am worried. I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw this news, the first words out of my mouth were not good words. I'm just being honest. Like when I saw it, I went, son of. I wasn't happy, but there's so much in the tea leaves here that we've got to sort out and try and predict. If Aaron Rodgers ends up in New York, this means nothing in the negative. Aaron Rodgers has already worked with Hackett. Part of why Aaron Rodgers, I think, loves Hackett is because Hackett will just do whatever Aaron Rodgers wants. Aaron Rodgers runs what he wants, does what he wants. Hackett's more of his buddy than a coach. If Hackett's in charge of another quarterback, though, that's not Tom Brady or Lamar, let's say it's Derek Carr, I could see him messing that up. And I would be very, very concerned if it's not Lamar, Brady, or Aaron Rodgers with Hackett as OC. But he's not head coach. He's not in charge of all personnel. He's not in charge of the big decisions. He's not in charge of the clock management. Salah's going to have a lot of say. Salah's going to probably tell him what he wants. Salah's not going to let him put Breece Hall on the bench. We can't certainly know. Obviously, Hackett needs to be worried. We need to be worried about him. But we need the Aaron Rodgers deal to get done. And I think it does. I think despite this kind of little scare right here, because we're all a little bit like, whoa, we all just turned into Petrified Peters for a brief moment. We did. Let's admit it. We all became Petrified Peter for a brief moment today at some point. When you read this somewhere, wherever you were, I'll never forget where I was this day when I read that Nathaniel Hackett was hired as OC in New York, a team I am so high on in 2023. This was a kick to the nads. No doubt about it, initially. But if Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay, we will not be down. We will not be concerned. But Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Lamar, but let's stick with Aaron Rodgers for now because he's the most likely to go there. Aaron Rodgers must go to the New York Football Jets for us to be able to do this.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
You know, I will be amped. You will be amped. I will be excited. Garrett Wilson will have his guaranteed place in our top 5 to 10 wide receiver breakouts. Breece Hall's bouncing back and becoming an Aaron Jones type wide receiver running back option for Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers lands in Green Bay, Elijah Moore becomes our Green Bay. In New York, Elijah Moore becomes relevant again. Who's so talented, and he's getting forgot about. He's getting shoved aside. People are just discarding him in fantasy. People are discarding Elijah Moore in their mind in terms of being a football an elite wide receiver potential for his quarterback. Elijah Moore's got upside, huge upside. If Garrett Wilson wasn't in New York, Elijah Moore would have like quietly borderline wide receiver 1, but excellent wide receiver 2 appeal. We think of him kind of like DJ Moore, immense talent waiting for a quarterback to vault him up. Elijah Moore is very, very good. And Aaron Rodgers is used to having really one wide receiver at a time. He's going to have 2. He's going to have Breece Hall, who is, in my opinion, better than Aaron Jones was ever. And I know some might argue, Aaron Jones in his prime, there's no way Breece Hall, I believe, will be better than Aaron Jones in his prime. And I know that year 1 could be shaky. I know year 1 he's coming back from the ACL tear, but he's ahead of schedule. We're totally fine with what we're hearing out of Breece Hall. It's different when Breece Hall. I'm sorry if I keep using different teams and I'm mixing up I keep saying Green Bay, I think, and such, but I apologize. New York is on the rise. New York has a defense that really is one of the more exciting defenses in the National Football League, and Sauce Gardner is one of the most exciting defensive players in the game. And this defense can take it to the next level if the offense can support it and keep the defense off the field more. Think about the Niner defense when they struggled with Jimmy G before Brock Purdy rose up and started moving the offense down the field. What happened to the Niner defense, the best defense in football? Arguably true. What happened to the Niners when Jimmy was struggling to score points and keep the offense on the field? The defense got tired, they got injured, they broke down. The Niner defense, for a certain portion of the 2022 season, the regular season that we just got done playing, the Niner defense in a short period of time fell apart for a brief moment, did not look anything close to the top defense in the National Football League. They weren't even close, and it's because the offense was draining the ability and upside of the defense because the defense had to stay on the field constantly. This New York Football Jet defense is so good, we don't even know how good it can be because the offense hasn't been able to support it and have that give and take between the two to help lift both of them up. A good defense is going to help an offense become better. Sauce Gardner in practice will make Aaron Rodgers more sharp than ever. Sauce Gardner in practice will help any quarterback get better. Sauce Gardner in practice, this defense in practice is going to help the offense retool, improve, and build around whichever quarterback is going to be signal calling in 2023. And if it is Aaron Rodgers, we give him 1 to 2 years. It wouldn't shock me if he played 2 more years. Think of Tom Brady. We thought Tom Brady was going to hang it up 4, 5, 6 years ago. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers plays as many years as Tom, but I think playing 2 years in New York wouldn't shock me. Playing 1 more year or no years in Green Bay feels like par for the course, okay? In New York, fresh scene. He loves it. They win. I could see him saying, I'm going to win 2 championships, or let's say that in his mind. And if they fall short year 1 and they go to the playoffs, let's say they win a playoff game. Let's say they win 2 playoff games. Let's say the New York Football Jets with Aaron Rodgers win 2 playoff games and lose. Aaron Rodgers will run it back. If they won it all and they pulled the Cincinnati Bengal miracle and they turn this team around, and I do believe they have a similar blueprint to the Bengals. Everybody laughs at the Jets. They laugh at the Jets constantly. And this Hackett signing feels very much par for the course as to that narrative. I have to admit, I woke up thinking that. I woke up saying, what on earth is going on? What? Why? But if this plan works, Aaron Rodgers takes this team to multiple wins in the playoffs in year 1. This plan potentially takes this team into a surprising, everybody later on going, can you believe it, type of Super Bowl run. It could happen in New York. New York has all the pieces that can make this happen. Hackett's only in the way if there's not an elite quarterback that's there to say, get out of my face, I'm going to run the show, Hackett, because he is a Hackett job. He's not hacking it. And so we do need somebody in place. If it's Derek Carr, who I think is competent enough to get the football to Garrett Wilson, we saw how good Adams did with Derek Carr. Even though Derek Carr is not the right quarterback to win a Super Bowl or even make a deep playoff run, he's still competent enough in terms of production to get Devontae Adams into elite numbers. So I have no problem with Derek Carr at the end of the day signal calling in New York. but I don't know that I love Derek Carr signal calling in New York, trying to overcome the stigma that is Derek Carr right now with Hackett as his offensive coordinator. So if it is Derek Carr and it's not Aaron Rodgers, Lamar, or Brady, we will have a moment of reflection and inward looking and take a tiny peek at the Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Moonmen, and bold predictions. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to quality check ourselves. We have to not act like we know all, and then when we say something, we're just going to take it into the season and the offseason no matter what happens. We have to adjust and adapt. But I'm here to calm the storm. I'm here to calm all of your nerves, to tell you that even I reacted very badly when I first saw it. And I'm not trying to justify it, because I'm telling you we could switch directions if this goes this way, Derek Carr comes in, whatever. But if Aaron Rodgers comes into this situation and takes over as interim head coach or interim offensive coordinator, Aaron Rodgers is essentially what it's going to be.
You've just been...
That's essentially what it's going to be. Aaron Rodgers will run the show. If Aaron Rodgers comes in, 0% concern. We've seen what Hackett and Aaron Rodgers can do together. Hackett can't do anything negative to Aaron Rodgers. Hackett is maybe good in certain facets of what he does when he's compartmentalized and forced to do a certain task and a certain specific set of tasks and not asked to run a team. I don't like Hackett. He's got some good actual statistics in his past with Aaron Rodgers, obviously. In Green Bay, obviously. But Hackett's also got a track record of when too much is put on his plate, he's garbage. He's garbage. And I don't like the odds of him doing well and defying those negative stats and trying to replicate the positive ones without Aaron Rodgers. So it must be Aaron Rodgers. It must be. So that's what it is. That's where we stand. True Penguin, Matt DeWolf, Space Ricky, appreciate seeing you here, guys. Some of you haven't been here for a while. We got Slats in the building. We've got Raphael, Angel, Ernesto, Matthew, Ben, Travis, Rowe. Non-interesting name. Appreciate you all filing in. Your boy Rick. Hey, your boy Rick, I got your super chat the other day. I don't know if you saw that. Thank you for super chatting, by the way. I don't know if you saw my response. We got Danger in the building. We got everybody in here ready to go. 84 of you in here. Only 35 thumbs up. Please punch that thumb up button. So Nathaniel Hackett, OC, I just went on a rant. If you just joined, go watch why I'm positive about this if Aaron Rodgers lands in New York, and why I'm negative if it's not one of Brady, Lamar, or A-Rod. Frank Wright hired as head coach of the Panthers. This is good news for Carolina. It's a little weird that they even changed directions given what the Panthers actually did, and I think that changing head coaches was, it's neither good or bad, but I think Wilkes should find a home elsewhere too. He should. He really deserves it. Frank Wright, offensive-minded guy. You probably heard on the news the spiel and the news bite, the sound bit is that Frank Wright is the first offensive-minded head coach that the Panthers have ever hired. So that's saying something, and they want to fix the quarterback position. He's a former quarterback himself for the Carolina Panthers, so they haven't had an offensive-minded coach ever, and he was a quarterback, so it just makes sense. It makes sense to bring him in, and you can bet your bottom dollar that this man's going to be active on draft day, potentially trying to move this 9 overall pick maybe up into the 1, 2, or 3. The Bears are definitely playing coy and trying to bluff and fake their hand right now and saying that they may draft a quarterback. Maybe. They might. They're not drafting a quarterback. They'd be absolutely crazy to draft a quarterback. It's borderline stupidity and borderline insulting to talk to anybody and say, hey, we might draft a quarterback. It insults my intelligence to tell me that, okay? So you're insulting my intelligence, Chicago. We know you don't want the pick. We know you want to trade down. It makes sense to trade down. You've got a lot of holes that you need to fill. And teams like Carolina and maybe even the Falcons, even though they have Ritter, they didn't spend a hugely high, crazy high pick on Ritter. So they're going to draft Stroud or Bryce Young if they can move up in a reasonable fashion. Seahawks aren't scared to go QB, even though Geno did well. Colts definitely want a signal caller. Texans definitely are going to take a quarterback. So it really comes down to this. If you want Stroud or you want Bryce Young, you need to call the Bears. And what more likely option can you think of other than the offensive-minded coach that got brought in to kind of clean up the quarterback spot and finally solve the quarterback dilemma that the Panthers have been in need of for so long? They've been with this dilemma for so long. Just nothing but mediocre quarterbacks. Frank Wright will probably have an objective to solve that problem. I don't think he goes hunting. He'll probably go hunting for Derek Carr and quarterbacks like that, Jimmy and Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, who would be a mistake. It would be just more of the same for Carolina. He'd be benched by week 10. Jimmy G would be injured or benched by week 10. Derek Carr probably start the whole year if he stayed healthy, but he's not going to win them anything. He's a short-term solution unless the Panthers want to build around other positions or at other positions and then draft a quarterback next year or bring in somebody later and kind of build up the team before they start that clock on the new quarterback and getting that young person in there to mold, then I think they go strongly after a quarterback. Now, they could draft one at 9. There are several quarterbacks that will float around the top 15 that aren't named Stroud or Bryce Young. But I think ultimately Frank Wright tries to get in here in the mix and trade up to that one pick with the Bears. Bears move to 9. Frank Wright and the Panthers get that number 1 overall pick and grab their quarterback. And Stroud probably would be the guy. I think Bryce Young falls to the Texans. That would be my early guess. Very, very early guess. That is the news for the moment. Again, everybody, Joe Namath, so many things pointing toward the Jets being the lead dog candidate for Aaron Rodgers. Joe Namath saying he will unretire the number 12 for A-Rod. Hackett hired as OC in New York. Same thing the Denver Broncos did to try and lure in Aaron Rodgers. But some say, and some analysts on TV that have good knowledge of the situation, I believe, that they, and your boy Rick dropping another super chat. 49ers going to trade Lance for a top 13 pick. Your boy Rick, I saw this super chat the other day. Are you still here? And I answered it, but let's answer it again. A lot of people say that they went the route of Russell Wilson. They did not necessarily hire Hackett to bring in A-Rod. It was an extra benefit of having Hackett on staff. But I believe the Jets are hiring Hackett for that one reason. And if I'm the Jets and Aaron Rodgers a trade does not get done, I fire Hackett immediately. They probably won't do that. But I would. If I was the New York Football Jets and Hackett didn't do his job, the one thing you ask of him when he comes in the door, get Aaron Rodgers here. Figure it out. Figure out how to grease the wheels here. If Nathaniel Hackett fails at his first job of getting A-Rod on roster, they should fire him immediately. Your boy Rick, appreciate your boy Rick, who was gifted memberships. I think it's probably East Coast Tatty, I imagine. Hold on, I gotta pull up the live stream and take a look at who dropped. Here it is, East Coast Tatty, of course. East Coast Tatty dropping 5 exclusive YouTube memberships.
Mashed potatoes!
Appreciate you, East Coast Tatty. You are the man, the myth, the legend. And your boy Rick was gifted one of them. And your boy Rick, you see what happens? Your boy Rick, you give via Super Chat. You drop a $2 Super Chat to pump up your Niners. And what happens? East Coast Tatty gives random gifts out, and randomly, because it was all random by YouTube, you randomly got a YouTube exclusive membership from East Coast Tatty, just from giving back, pal. Your boy Rick says Niners going to trade Lance for a top 13 draft pick. This is what I think on that. So I talked about this one, my broski, before. I talked about this yesterday. You probably left. I appreciate your super chat you gave yesterday on this topic. I don't think this is a possibility. I don't think teams view Trey Lance as a top 12 overall player anyway. Most teams. The teams that maybe did, because when the Niners took him so early, bro, the majority of everybody, and I disagree with the negativity on Trey, because I really like Trey. I liked Trey when he was drafted. I still like Trey. I think Shanahan ruined him initially. And I don't know that he's got a clear path to success in San Francisco. Nor do I feel like Shanahan's eager to trade him because he's the backup. And they're comfortable with him as the backup. They're tired of worrying about their quarterback situation. They finally have Purdy. They got Trey Lance. They're pretty safe. They're pretty safe. You got Christian McCaffrey. Like, you could literally run this back next year by not doing anything. So, in the salary cap going up, free agency, they'll be able to attack free agency. You literally have zero reason to trade Trey Lance. If you're Kyle Shanahan, you finally have security at the quarterback position, because I believe in him. And I think they probably believe in him to an extent, but it's frustrating for Trey. Trey will demand a trade, in my opinion, if the consensus is that Brock's starting 2023. If Brock goes out and bombs against the Eagles, guess what? It's open season. It's going to be an open competition for the job. If you think Purdy's locked the job in, if he fails against the Eagles, let's say miserably, then I think you got a rude awakening. Not you, your boy Rick, but anybody in general. If you just assume that Brock Purdy's going to get handed this job by Kyle Shanahan. I mean, a logical person, let me put this up here on screen. A logical person, your boy Rick, would say Purdy's earned it. A logical person. Shanahan does not do what you think he's going to do. And so I think if Purdy goes and fails against the Eagles miserably, you will see Kyle Shanahan come out publicly and say, we have not decided. We got two good quarterbacks. We're going to take it. I'm not going to discuss that right now, or whatever Shanahan's used to saying. And he will go with a very vague approach into the offseason, and you will see both quarterbacks competing to start. Trey will get a shot to reclaim his starting job. It will be an uphill battle because Purdy has a huge advantage. But if Purdy goes out and bombs, then the door is more wide open than I think a lot of people believe. If Purdy marches his team into a Super Bowl outing, even if he loses but doesn't look bad, the team barely loses, it's probably Purdy's job to lose. I still think Shanahan's very coy with his who's your starting quarterback next year. But Trey may or may not demand a trade if things aren't ultra clear about Purdy being the starter walking in. If the Niners win the Super Bowl, doesn't matter how Purdy plays, you're going to have Trey saying, I request a trade. I want a trade. Because if you can win with Purdy when he's learning, imagine what the team's going to say when you start talking about, well, what if Purdy gets better? What are we going to do next year if Purdy gets better? You're going to win again. So it all comes down to what happens in the next two games and how Purdy looks. Purdy looked like rattled. He was shook up a little bit in the last game. He was running around, making some bad decisions, none of which cost the game. They were not back-breaking decisions, but Purdy certainly wasn't smooth last game, and he's going up against easily as tough a defense, in my opinion, in the Philadelphia Eagles, because they have the offense to support it. It's just such a fine-tuned machine. Front to back, offense to defense. This team is so solid. That's why they were undefeated longer than any other team in the NFL. That's why they are the home field advantage team that has the 1 seed throughout the entirety of the playoffs, because they are the most well-rounded team in the entire National Football League. It was proven through the eye test and by record. So if anybody thinks the Eagles are going to be a walk in the park, you are a homer fan of the Niners, which is fine. You've got fandom syndrome. It's no problem. I love all the loyalty of any Niner person. I'm not saying the Niners are going to lose for sure or anything like that. I'm just saying if you believe the Niners will blast the Eagles, you are very, very biased toward your team, which is fine. And I love the loyalty. Again, not a big deal. But to answer this question, your boy Rick, I find it very hard to believe, given that very few teams and analysts and scouts and everybody, and I wasn't one of them because I liked Trey, and I still do. if the majority of the world didn't see him as a top 13 overall pick on draft day, what makes anybody think that through this injury and not grabbing the job by now and now needing to be traded because he's not good enough to take the job from the last pick in the NFL draft, Mr. Irrelevant, do you think a team's going to be willing to surrender a top 13 pick for Trey Lance? Absolutely not. It's just not going to happen. Not with the amount of rookie quarterbacks that are arguably in the same exact boat as he is. He has no experience. He got injured. He has no experience. Stroud, Bryce Young, one or two other rookie quarterbacks, your boy, might have more value than Trey Lance. And that means that no one's surrendering a top 13 overall pick. No one's surrendering a solidified, at least I don't think so, that's my opinion, a solidified, already known draft value to that level. Maybe a future 2024 unknown pick that you think is lingering around like the 19 to 29 or somewhere around that range. Would you surrender that kind of first rounder? Sure. Are you getting multiple first rounders? No. And your boy, that's the problem. Shanahan's not getting rid of him unless he gets 2 first rounders or a first rounder in a couple of seconds. His cost of getting him will be so astronomically high, it's not getting done. Shanahan wants the world. Shanahan's got to sit on his hands and say, we want what we gave up to get him. No one's giving that up. Nobody. Not for an injured quarterback coming off a devastating injury. Should be healthy enough, but you don't know. And he has no experience. He can't beat out Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the NFL draft. There's zero chance, in my opinion, a team's going to surrender that high of a pick. They'll only surrender a future pick that they can kick down the road, to kick the can down the road and say, maybe a 2024 first that we think probably will be late, but we're not sure. We don't know where it is. Go ahead and take it. That's it. That's the only thing that I see happening in this scenario. But your boy, Rick, I appreciate you. I respect your loyalty to your team. I think as a Niner, you probably don't want a trade to happen anyway, because if your team's good enough to win now with the salary cap going up, free agency coming in to try and clean up any holes you might have, retain players, I don't know why you would want to risk not having a good quarterback, because that's the crutch for the Niners. If you have Purdy and Trey, you're set, bro. You're set. You don't want to get rid of Trey Lance knowing that Purdy he hasn't fully proven it. He looks amazing, but let's pump the brakes and not say Purdy's 1,000% the future. He's amazing. Let's let him get through to the Sunday. Let's let him get through a Super Bowl performance if he's so lucky to take the Niner team into a Super Bowl outing, and then let's take it from there. But your boy Rick, I appreciate you. Oh, I'm so long-winded already. I mean, what have I been doing this whole time? So we got a $20 hauler here now from TMT. TMT dropping a 20-watt.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
Yeah, buddy.
$20 hauler from TMT. Appreciate you, my dude. TMT says, thanks for all the updated info, Smitty. You're the man. The new Moon Men are keeping... The new Moon Men are and keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. Hit the button for your boy on the way in. Thank you. I appreciate you, TMT, for dropping that super chat. I don't even know what you guys are saying in the chat because I've been ranting and raving. Very true about both and very good contracts. Your boy, you don't want to get rid of him, bro. You don't want to get rid of Trey. And it's not going to happen, but you don't want to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? You have security in those two. Thank you, Ben, for reminding me on that. Best show out there, says TMT. Appreciate your super chat, my guy. Let's open the phone lines, shall we?
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in to the show. Your boy Smitty is here to help you and assist you. Thank you, Avatar, yesterday for the super chat, by the way. Is Avatar here? Bill in the building. Bill, Deacon, appreciate you. The Niners got buffaloed with Lance. I mean, they did, but like, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Bijan round 6 wink. Yeah, that was impressive yesterday. That was crazy yesterday when we had, who was it? It was Yusuf, one of our longtime followers here. He hasn't been here for the longest time, I think. But we appreciate him. No hate on Yusuf, but Yusuf said that he believed that Bijan was overrated, the most overrated rookie, and that he would draft him in round 6 to 7. And we were like, but it was eye-opening in a good way that there are people that doubt Bijan enough. You would think that after Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, and even though Etienne was a sophomore, he was still essentially a rookie to a degree. You would think after that campaign of rookies that you would have people that were like, okay, never mind, I'm just all in on rookies. But there's still going to be the Kenneth Walker effect. There are still a handful of people in your league that will say, I think I'll wait on the rookies. And then you'll have people say the very layman, very scared Scotty and petrified Peter and worried William type of phrase and say, Smitty, I might be on the Bijan train, but I think I need to wait and see where he lands. As if that's not obvious. And if that's not going to be value altering to wait, like in a dynasty format, you're waiting to acquire the 1.1. I want to see where he lands. As if that's like waiting to buy a house. I'm going to wait until interest rates drop. And when they drop, I'm going to go ahead and buy a house. Well, yeah, now everything's going to be more expensive. Demand's going to be high. Like it's a give and a take. You got to act early, and you got to figure out what you want, and you got to do your evaluations, and you got to trust in the process. And if you don't think Bijan is situation proof, if you don't look at the NFL draft order and say to yourself, well, good God, the guy's projected to be a top 12 player. Every single one of the potential landing spots are fire. He's almost situation proof looking at the board. If you can't see that kind of stuff and look at Bijan and say, he's generational. He's generational. A team's going to take him so high, no one's messing around. They need an RB bad. If they take him, they need an RB bad. Even if it was Carolina, at least we know Carolina ran the ball well. They're bringing in a very offensive-minded coach and Frank Wright. Maybe it's going to be okay if he goes to the worst landing spot. This is literally on the board here. The worst landing spot out of all the potential landing spots for Bijan early on, and we do expect him to go early on, is Carolina. And it wouldn't be that bad. It wouldn't be that bad with an offensive-minded coach like Frank Wright going there. Maybe I'm okay with Carolina now. And so you see Bijan, you see the possible landing spots, you see the generational talent, and you're still going to sit back. And this is no offense to Yusuf. It was very, very eye-opening. And you see people go, but Smitty, I need to see where he goes before I invest. And it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy to me. I have let's see here. I have a phone call order that we're going to take care of right now. Let me just see if I can find it here. Here we go. Let's dial up my boy. Let's dial him up. This is Tristan. Let's dial him up. And we're gonna try and help him out with his dynasty question. He ordered a phone call on thefantasyfootballshow.com, which is where anybody can order a phone call.
Hello?
Tristan, it is Smitty, my guy. Are you free to do the phone call right now? You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Yeah, man. I didn't expect it right now, but I'm down.
Is that okay? Did you want to do it another day?
Absolutely, man.
Okay. Let's take care of this. So Tristan, you've got a dynasty question for me.
Yeah. So let me pull this up here. All right, so I'm just trying to kind of go about a smart way to let's see here. What pick do I have?
Is it a startup?
Yes, sir. All right, so I have the 1.03, right?
Okay.
So 2.1, 3.03. It's not third round reversal or anything like that. So the thing is, it's a pretty deep roster. It's 1 QB, 3 running backs, 3 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 flex, 2 super flex. Okay.
Wait. 1 QB and 2 super flex on top of the 1 QB.
Yeah.
So it's not 1 QB, it's 3 QB. It's not 3 mandatory QB, but it's a league where you literally will start 3 QBs if you can. Wow.
Right.
So 1.3 is decided. It's decided for you right here and now. It's QB.
Well, do I trade down?
No, absolutely not. You need one of those top signal callers, bro. You need a top 4 quarterback. You need Hurts, Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow. And
I needed to hear that.
Yeah, you do not want to trade down. You do not. Getting depth and missing on the depth would put you at a disadvantage for forever. You might never, in this format, you may never recover if you were to trade down and let's say you got Herbert, like from last year. I'm not saying Herbert doesn't bounce back, but imagine trading down and missing on your quarterback. And then being like, good God, I traded down and didn't even land it. You got to go QB. And any one of the 4 are amazing. I think because it's dynasty, I lean toward the non-running quarterbacks first and Mahomes and Burrow, even though Mahomes can run. But Josh Allen and Hurts are amazing. I wouldn't shy away from them at all. But like I do lean Burrow. I do lean Burrow as the 1 QB1 for me. I know a lot of people disagree. I think you'll probably see him fall. I think everybody's excited about Burrow, but for the 2 people at 1.1 and 1.2 to also be overly excited about Burrow, the odds are probably against it because it's just 2 people you got to worry about, not the grand, the whole landscape of the league. So I think you'll probably get Burrow. But if you don't, I mean, any one of those 4 quarterbacks is phenomenal. But you have such an advantage from the jump. And
yeah, I'm trying to play this smart, take the emotion out of it, kind of. It's easy to get attached to certain players, and with this roster being so deep, I mean, 3 running backs just alone is crazy. 2 tight ends, I don't know. This guy wanted to do an interesting little layout, and I mean, it's cool. He's we're doing kickers for rookies, in the startup, and actually doing you can draft defense for like Debbie players for juniors.
God, bro, this league is
it's real deep.
This league sounds like the commissioner's played in this format before, and he just wants everyone else to lose to him. Like like how do you know? Like you got to play in a league like this for a year or 2 to really get the vibe and know what the right strategy is. So this commissioner, what's the commissioner have? The number 1 pick?
No, he's got. It looks like he's got actually 1.12. He's got the 1.12, but he said, I mean, we've been in this chat for a couple months now, and I mean, it seems like, I mean, everyone says it's their first time doing like a Debbie league, so.
But the commissioner.
I don't know, man.
But the commissioner, whatever. I mean, hey, go dominate it. It sounds like a fun league. It's just that's deep, bro. That's crazy. Like. Devi players, 3 QBs. Like, I'll be honest with you, you're not going to find anybody that's going to be able to tell you exactly what to do because I wouldn't even. It would be my first time playing in the combination of everything that you're saying. But I do know, I am smart enough to know that if you're gifted a top 4 pick in a league where you could start 3 quarterbacks, it's like a 1 QB and 2 super flex, you will be crazy to trade out of that top 4 pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah, and as for your 2nd round and 3rd round picks, I mean, it would just come down to best player available. Like, I wouldn't force quarterback just to get a quarter. Like, I wouldn't be drafting Derek Carrs and Geno Smiths because I'm scared to death that I'm going to be left without a quarterback. You're only required to start 1 quarterback. And while it is extremely advantageous to have multiple quarterbacks, like whatever the max is for quarterbacks, usually the team that wins will be maxing out their super flex options with signal callers. They're not, you traditionally aren't going to see people. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the case for 3 of them, though. I think whoever wins your league will probably have 2 really good quarterbacks, and they probably won't have a 3rd quarterback, or they'll rotate somebody in once in a while based on matchup. It's going to be real hard to get 3 good ones because they'll go quick. My thing for you would be my how to dominate a super flex draft strategy. And I did a draft live on YouTube showing it, and then I won it. So the league that I showed this strategy, I won the league last year. It's the only way to go. It's when you're given a top 4, top 5 overall pick. In the case of Fields, you could lump Fields in there too, so you could call it like a top 5 pick. So if you're gifted a top 5 overall pick, the strategy is very simple. As long as it isn't a 2 QB required, league, the strategy is this: you're gifted a top 5 pick, you take your QB with that top 5 pick, so you get your Burrow. Once you get into round 2 and 3, and you're going to have those very close 2 and 3 round picks that are not bookends but very, very close together. You're going to have so many quarterbacks go between your pick and your second rounder. You're going to be gifted players that usually belong in the first round in normal drafts, sitting there at your 2 pick and your 3 pick. And I just
probably right.
I scoop them up.
Yeah, there's so many crazy. Like I said, you can do a kicker for a rookie and a defense for a guy in college.
That's weird.
So yeah, people are going to be doing some crazy strategies, I'm sure. I don't know, man. It's kind of wild. It's not like any other dynasty league I've been in.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So get Burrow or whoever one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Then when you get down to the second and third rounders, you'll be staring in the face players that belong in the top 7 overall, top 8 overall in a normal draft setting. And granted, you are playing in a Superflex league. But I would circle back on the older quarterbacks. Who knows how far Brady falls or Aaron Rodgers, or because people in these dynasty startups, they scoop up the big name quarterbacks early. But after you blow through the between your pick and your next pick, there's probably going to be a surprising player or two that falls maybe to round 4. Maybe not. And if they don't, so be it. You can grab a lot of rookies. You can grab other quarterbacks that you can develop or whatever. But I just think if you get handed a player that has top 5 overall value in a normal draft, a 1 QB draft, you get 2 of those players to couple with Burrow, you're going to be pretty hard to stop. You're going to have the most depth out of anybody. I think somebody with a top 4 pick might screw up and take just a QB here that they don't even love. And as soon as that QB busts in Dynasty or doesn't end up being as good, then you're going to have a huge advantage.
Yeah, I guess it just scares me with so many spots on the roster. It's like there's not even enough people in the league. I mean, there's gonna be shots in the dark at flex every week, for some people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. But this show will help you get some of those guys in the draft rather than fight for them in free agency. Like the McKinnons and guys that probably were not even drafted in most draft settings. We'll try and get you to draft them in the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds. I'll have all kinds of video content on the late round gems that could turn into next year's McKinnon, next year's Pacheco. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And rookies, bro. Load up on the rookies, especially the rookie running backs. I think, if you got Bijan, I don't know if Bijan would fall. It's a dynasty startup. He probably is a top 5. He's probably a top 5 pick in a normal draft, guaranteed in a dynasty startup. But with a super flex, a 3 QB, 2 super flex, and a QB, 3 quarterback potential starting lineup with all the Devy stuff, with all the whatever rookies for kicker things you're talking about. Who knows, man? Like if Gibbs and Bijan fall to your second and third round picks somehow in this 3 QB league, and you've got Burrow, like say goodnight. That'd be a phenomenal start. Or if you go double wide receiver, I mean, who knows? Jamar Chase could fall to your second round pick in this format. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, I might zig while everybody else is zagging. They're all gonna be doing all the crazy stuff. So yeah, I may just do the smart thing, like you said.
Yeah, don't go, especially in Dynasty. Think about it. If this Dynasty just stick around for a while, I don't know if it will or not. Most Dynasties crumble within 2 to 4 years. Especially if you don't really know everybody there's a really good chance somebody screws their draft up. Or no, there's 100% chance that 2 or 3 or 4 people screw their draft up, and they're so far out of reach from ever being a winning team again. You got to understand they're going to say to themselves, even if it's subconsciously, I'm sorry, I don't have time for this league anymore. I got to leave, and they're going to leave. And then once the commissioner tries to fill those spots 1 or 2 times, the league kind of stays afloat on life support for a year or 2. I almost guarantee you there's a 50% chance this league folds in 4 or 5 years. So you got to keep that in mind when you're building. Don't be worried. I trade my future draft picks away to build a team that can win now and take advantage of the possibility that the league folds.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah,
it is what it is. If it crumbles, so be it. I'm still gonna try it out. But that's actually a good way to go about doing it when you think about it like that.
Yeah, because what's the even if I'm wrong, you're building around players you love anyway, so you're not going to be that upset. Like if you were to trade your 2024 first round pick for Garrett Wilson, let's say the pick that lands Garrett Wilson, because people love acquiring picks during the middle of a draft. Isaac, appreciate you becoming a YouTube member, pal. If you traded away from that, and let's say the league does stay existing, great. You got Garrett Wilson. I love building around wide receivers in dynasty startups, and more than anything, Joe Burrow, Hurts, Mahomes, Josh Allen. These are the top 5. I don't know what Matthew's saying here. Matthew, Josh Allen ain't even a top 5 QB. Matthew, take a lap. That's blasphemy.
Massive.
That's blasphemy, bro. But anyway, if you get one of those guys and the league folds, you still got the best guy in anyway. Like the guys you're targeting at number 3 overall are not only the youngest that have the most longevity to be a 10, 12-year player for you at the same level. Like play as good as a number 3 overall pick for 10 years, for 12 years. That's how good the quarterbacks are, especially those 3 or those 4. Changing of the guard, they're all young. They're all young. Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow, and Josh Allen, and even Fields. But they're all so young. You have 10 plus years, and they're already top 4. So to pick anybody else would be a joke. Would be an absolute joke in a 3 QB league, let alone a single super flex league. It would be a misstep beyond missteps. Think of it this way. It'd be different if you're Bijan's the number 1 running back. There's a 4 to 5 year shelf life, but he's number 1. So I'm going to take him over a 10, 12 year quarterback. You know what I mean? But the quarterback's better than any running back or wide receiver. So why on earth would you pass on them when they're going to last 12 years?
You're right. That like you always say, it takes away so much stress to have that player up there and kind of have that rock on your team.
So stress-free. Raise your hand if you had a stressful 2022 in the chat with the quarterback carousel, and you didn't have one of the top 4 guns and you were stressed all year long. And then raise your hand and tell me which side you're on if you had a carefree QB experience in 2022 with your early quarterback approach. So yeah, easy call, Tristan. Easy call, man. Never been an easier call.
It's always one of those guys that wins the championship in the league too. It's always the Josh Allen guy or the Burrow guy, or the Mahomes every time.
Yeah, and you do run the risk of Justin Herbert was the number 2 fantasy quarterback in 2021. The number 2 fantasy quarterback. Everybody had him as a top 4 quarterback. You occasionally are gonna miss on something like that. It happens, but it's very rare, and he still could bounce back and become a top 5 QB, but I don't have any concerns whatsoever about Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, or Josh Allen doing that, changing and going in a different direction value-wise. 0% concern about a Herbert situation.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. No, nowhere near the same concerns for a guy like Burrow.
Yeah.
All right. Can I throw another question at you?
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think's gonna happen to Trey Lance?
I just talked about that right before I called you. But that's right. I went on a rant about it, but real briefly, the Cliff Note version is that I don't think Shanahan would get I don't think Shanahan will get enough to trade him. Number two, I don't think the Niner fans want him traded because the Niners finally solved their quarterback position, and you've got a nice backup in whoever it is. Probably Purdy's going to have the advantage, but if Purdy fails against the Eagles miserably, they may consider an open competition. And regardless of what everybody wants to happen or thinks should happen, Shanahan will do whatever he wants. And if you think Shanahan's not going to make it confusing or dramatic and just automatically give Purdy the job and not say we're going to have a competition and frustrate people, then you don't know Shanahan. Shanahan's very, very much going to do what he wants, and it's never going to be what you think. But end of day, he was barely thought of as a top 12, top 13 overall player, top 15 overall player on draft day. Like, for Shanahan to expect a draft pick, let alone a high draft pick in this 2023 draft, he's not going to get it. Because not only would you have to find a team that was one of the teams that did believe he was worth his value, because most teams did not see him, everyone thought he reached for him in the first round. Shanahan
He gave so much for him.
Gave up so much for him. Nobody's going to give that same value back or even remotely close, which is what Shanahan's going to obliviously want. No one's going to even come close to that, given that he's not proven yet. He's coming off a major injury, and he's no safer than any of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this 2023 NFL draft class. And he's, and you get more time. So, 100%, 100% not concerned, or not concerned about,
not. You want him so badly to have that high ceiling that some people say he can have. But it's just you just haven't seen it. You just don't know.
Yeah, we're talking about. Go ahead.
Do what?
I was saying we're also talking about how Nathaniel Hackett was hired as the Jets' offensive coordinator today.
That's crazy.
But,
I saw that. I'm upset.
Yeah, but we did talk about it, and we laid it out that it's all an Aaron Rodgers move. And if Aaron Rodgers does end up landing, now the Denver Broncos failed to do it. We've already seen this done. It didn't work last year, but I believe the Broncos still could have probably potentially pushed for it. They just settled with Russell Wilson, and they thought that was going to be a good move. But I firmly believe, and Keyshawn Johnson said today on TV, I can almost bet my right arm it's going to happen. Joe Namath coming out, he's going to unretire the number 12 jersey for Aaron Rodgers. Everything's setting up for it. I firmly believe, and while a lot of people say, hey, Smitty, he doesn't get to decide, Aaron Rodgers does kind of get to decide where he goes, because if he decides to hang it up, then the Green Bay Packers may save money, but they want to move on, and they want value, and they want to rebuild around Jordan Love. And I think they firmly will try and make this work to the best of their ability. And if this is where Aaron Rodgers wants to go, and I can totally see him in New York, the market, I could see all of it being perfect for him.
They're begging for him to go there.
He's going there. He's going there.
Right.
I think, and that's going to make the Hackett concern zero, because he's not the head coach. He didn't really even call plays in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers ran the show, and he will run the show again. And I'm not too worried about it. Hackett is probably. We probably don't know this because we despise the man so much and what he did to the Denver Bronco player values in fantasy. Everybody hates Hackett. Hackett's the most hated fantasy football, most hated coach from a fantasy football level. I think that Hackett probably has some skill sets that if he's compartmentalized and forced to do just those things, maybe he does do good at them. So I'm not trying to say that he didn't have any success in his career. He had a lot of success with Aaron Rodgers. But if it's not with Aaron Rodgers, I don't want to. I don't know what I'm going to do with the Moon Man. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to take Breece Hall off. I don't think I'm going to run away from Breece Hall, but I'll certainly have a lot more concerns, and his draft value might be affected in my mind. My ADP, my personal value and ranking form I might want to protect the value a little more. I might want to protect my cost of entry a little more. Garrett Wilson would concern me a little more. So I don't know. We'll approach that when it comes, but I firmly believe this is a all hands on deck approach to get Aaron Rodgers in. And I think Aaron Rodgers, and I hope to God he doesn't come down and shoot it down. Then I don't know what we're going to do. But I think Aaron Rodgers wants to play in New York. How would you not? Breece Hall, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner on defense. Defense looks so good. It'll be so much better with Aaron Rodgers, stretching the field and keeping the defense fresh. And it's going to be unbelievable. So Jets are going to win multiple playoff games immediately. That's how much I love Aaron Rodgers in New York. They're a quarterback away. And if it ends up being Jimmy G or Derek Carr, then we got a whole nother discussion on our hands and a whole bunch of re-evaluation and re-looking and rethinking and re-game planning all the Jet players. Because Hackett and Derek Carr are that's not a recipe that I love. And Aaron Rodgers and whoever I do love.
Yeah, they seem to. It kind of came out of nowhere. They're kind of might be a monster of a team if Aaron Rodgers gets on there.
Monster, or Tom Brady or Lamar, and of course, everybody in here saying that the other landing spots are still a possibility. Of course, we got the Brady board right here. This is what we've coined the Brady board. Brady to the Jets is kind of what I'm feeling is a possibility as well. The Aaron Rodgers to the Jets and Lamar to the Jets, and then the same three quarterbacks for Miami, the same three quarterbacks for the Raiders. I think the Raiders were a lead dog candidate for the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, but at this point with everything going on, I might have to say that I don't know. I might have to say A-Rod to the Jets might feel more likely, but I feel like A-Rod on this Brady board right here. I don't know if you're watching the channel right now, but on the Brady board right here, I have it in order of my favorite fit. So my favorite fit for the Jets is Aaron Rodgers. My favorite fit for the Raiders is Aaron Rodgers. My second favorite fit for both those teams is Tom Brady. And then my favorite fit for Miami is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Rodgers doesn't go to the Jets, and I also feel like Brady just wants to play in San Francisco so bad.
He does.
But,
he does. And that and if Brock Purdy, mark my words, all the Niner people out here, mark my words, if Brock Purdy fails against the Eagles miserably, Shanahan will pick up the phone. If Tom Brady calls, he'll pick it up. I'm not saying he'll make a move, but if anybody thinks that you can't hit the pause button on the last pick in the NFL draft and let Tom Brady come in and mentor him for 1 year, and they think that once you hit unpause that Purdy's career is going to go down the drain and not go upward, if anybody thinks Tom Brady coming in for 1 year doesn't help Brock Purdy at the end of the day, they're crazy. They're crazy. To learn from Tom Brady, and on top of that, it's not like Brock Purdy is getting removed from the lineup. He came in on an injury, and I think there's kind of a unsaid you don't lose your job to an injury. So like Trey Lance still has a case to be made unless Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, or at least goes to the Super Bowl, plays very well and loses. If he does that, then he's made a case that, look, I overtook you. Injury can make you lose your job. But if Brock Purdy doesn't explode and conclude this thing the way that it needs to be concluded, then you very much might have a situation where Tom Brady, that becomes a possibility. And Tom Brady gets to decide where he wants to go. So it's not like there's got to be some complicated trade. I think it's possible. The Niners would be ridiculous to not think about it.
Yeah, Purdy's got nothing but time. And on that note, Smitty, actually, I want to ask you this, and I'll let you go if you want to go. I don't want to keep all your time for your show. But Purdy, on this other dynasty team of mine, that's a way more normal league. I've got this team. It's a nice team. It's a young team. It may not win next year, but it's a good team. And I've got Trey Lance on it. And so I'm really like thinking about targeting Purdy, and do I wait until like the summer when he's competing for the job, or at least do I wait to see if he loses a playoff game, or do I just try to buy him now before he turns until everyone's just convinced he's the next Tom Brady or whatever?
Who's the next Tom Brady?
Purdy.
Oh,
I'm saying what's do you think Purdy's value now? I mean, what's his value now, or do you think I should wait for his value to drop, try to go get him on my team? I have Trey Lance on my team. I was saying,
yeah. I mean, I think you should pump the brakes a little bit. Like, look at what we just saw with Herbert. I think Herbert's a real good like reminder. You know, like nobody looked better than Herbert, but one quarterback in the NFL. Herbert was the number 2 quarterback in 2020 out of all quarterbacks. He looked like the 1, 2, or 3. Justin Herbert looked as promising. He looked as promising as I don't know. I would say like as Jalen Hurts in a way, like walking into 2021 or 2022. 2021. I meant to say he's the second quarterback in fantasy football and just NFL period. You know, so like I think to start like drawing conclusions about Purdy.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, like you need to be careful. You need to draft him as a borderline top 8 to 12 quarterback. You can't be talking about the next Tom Brady. His situation's very eerie in comparison, like in terms of, I mean, you could say if he becomes like a top 6 to 10 quarterback, to do that from the Mr. Irrelevant pick is like so crazy, like unheard of. So the story's amazing, and I just think people are getting wrapped up in it a little bit. He still looked very green in that last game against the Cowboys. He'll still look very green, I think, against a tough Philly defense, and he needs to be carried a little bit. He's still learning. Like, there's not his fault. He's in high pressure, crazy situations, and he's showing poise in a pocket that that you haven't seen from a QB in his position before. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, I guess he hasn't been overwhelming in fantasy, in terms of fantasy points, but he's just been that steady 20 points, for his 6 or 7 starts.
Yeah. But, all right, bro. Appreciate you. And if you got a follow up, since you ordered a call, if you got a follow up, just send me a message in the Discord or in the text line, and I'll take care of you, pal.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Talk to you later. Take
All
care,
right.
man.
All right. Appreciate you, man. That was Tristan, who ordered a phone call through thefantasyfootballshow.com. Not only did he order a phone call, he's also on the text line that you can get at thefantasyfootballshow.com. So let's open the phone lines.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right, so everyone's yelling at me in the chat to look at some guy's questions. So let's look at this. Everyone's telling me to read your questions, JT. So let's read your questions. Only draft SEC and players from. Why? Rest are softies. Thank you. Okay. Is that what I'm supposed to read? I don't know. I don't know why you can't choose talent like that, bro. But appreciate you being here, and welcome to the show. You're apparently making waves already in the chat. People are saying for you to call in or whatever. But look, JT, everybody scouts talent different. Do you trust your gut? But I think it's pretty crazy to rule out talent based on things like that. I mean, we've heard a lot of that in the past. Like, nobody should, Randy Moss came from a small school. He can't be any good. We've heard these things over and over and over. Christian Watson, coming from the same school Trey Lance did, he can't be any good. And Christian Watson looks amazing. So much has to do with where you get drafted, your situation, who your quarterback is if you're a wide receiver like Christian Watson, who your running back, you're Arian Foster, and you're an undrafted free agent, and you come in and you start week 16 and week 17 during your rookie season. You look good. No one knows what you're going to do. You come in and you're one of the best running backs in the history of the game, for fantasy football. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Yo, what's up, Smitty? I got a good question, man.
Who's
right
this?
now, who are we taking?
Who's
Jamar
this?
Chase or Justin Jefferson at your 101 in Dynasty? I'm going receiver, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Who are we taking?
All right, what's your name?
My name's Colton.
Colton, what's up, Colton? So I have a lot of content on this, and my number one in Dynasty is either Chase or Bijan. I've got JJ, Chase, and Bijan all there in the top 3. No one is ridiculous to like one over the other. It's almost crazy to argue it, like to a point where like someone's right or wrong. Like there's just no logic in that. There's pros and cons to JJ being the number 1 overall player. Talent-wise, he's so amazing. He's probably the most gifted wide receiver in the league. I mean, I think everyone can agree on that. But he doesn't have the same quarterback security that Jamar Chase has and Joe Burrow. Jefferson can do pretty much everything. I think Jamar Chase is a little bit more. He's the best in the league at certain things, but he's not as well versed in some things that JJ might be well versed in. But like that doesn't mean anything because what Joe Burrow and him do is it doesn't need to be JJ. Like JJ has a different game, so it requires him to be good at different things. Like Jamar Chase is good at everything, but he's amazing. He's the best in the NFL at certain facets of the game, and JJ's right there with him. But I take the guy that has the better quarterback in Joe Burrow. I take the stack.
The stack above all stacks.
It's just my preference, but I've gone back and forth, to be honest. But I think at this point it's JJ and Burrow for me, and it's my favorite approach in dynasty startups. Chase in the first round, Burrow in the second round, and then you just clean up for 10 years. I think Bijan, there's an argument to make for Bijan being the number 1 overall player in dynasty, but his shelf life's shorter. So as long as you're okay with that, and the possibility of him being a 4 or 5 year running back, that's just the way the NFL is now.
If you were to trade, like if someone in your league were to trade Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson straight up, would you say aside one? Like who would you lean with?
Say that one more time.
Like if someone in your league were to trade them straight up, 1 for 1, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, are you picking a side? Like is there a winner in that trade? Or is it
didn't I just answer that essentially? I mean, my favorite player is Jamar Chase. Like I'm taking Jamar Chase. He's my wide receiver 1. But again,
hey, I'm on the Jamar side.
But you can't really say the other side's crazy though. I think you'll never hear very many people say that the person that says JJ is crazy. But if you say Jamar Chase is your wide receiver 1, you're going to oftentimes hear 1 or 2 out of like 10 people be like, well, you're crazy, bro. And it's like, how can you say that? How can you say that? Jamar Chase did so well missing games and he was hampered, and it wasn't like an injury that we're concerned about for the future or any kind of like sign of like often injured, being often injured. What he did considering the hip injury, his placement in that offense, having Joe Burrow there by his side for a decade, it's gonna be amazing. He's gonna continue to produce top 3 wide receiver numbers every single season he's healthy, and you just gotta hope that he stays healthy. Whichever wide receiver you draft, you gotta hope they stay healthy. Kirk Cousins had an amazing quarterback run in 2022, but as I mentioned with Herbert in 2021, like he was the number 2 quarterback in fantasy football, and he was dog water this year. So to assume that Cousins is going to 100% do what he did last year this coming year, I don't know. Like I mean, and then to assume, that the Vikings are going to take care of that position and have success like anything remotely close to a Kirk Cousins at the high level that Kirk Cousins is playing, it's a lot to ask. Like I think if anybody's going to be left without the proper situation is JJ. Like it's clear. Burrow is not going anywhere.
I agree, man. I'm Team Jamar Chase the whole way. I just had an argument with my buddy, and he called in just to clear things up. I think it's Jamar the whole way. But
yeah, I mean,
I appreciate you for clearing that up, my man.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, he's not wrong to think what he's thinking. You're not wrong. The only person that's wrong is saying the other person's wrong, because it's arguable. It's arguable. But I'm on your side. If I had to choose, I would take Jamar Chase, and I do have to choose. I have rankings on thefantasyfootballshow.com, and on my rankings, I have Jamar Chase number 1. I have Justin Jefferson number 2. So I have taken a stance. I'm not wavering, but JJ's right there. I have wavered in the past, but JJ and Chase are right there. Cooper Kupp, even in dynasties, in the top 5 to me, because if he has 2 years left, that's a long time. Like I think that you argue top 5 value for that. If he had maybe not 1 year left, then you start backing off. But like Cooper Kupp, if you told me he has 2 years left and he retires, he's retiring after 2 years, I still draft him as a top 4 to 7 wide receiver in dynasty, because that's 2 years, and you never know how long a league's gonna last. But Chase by far is my 1 at this point.
Awesome, man. Thank you, man.
All right, later.
Take care. Have a good night.
Later, pal. Try again, Kelly Loco. I'm sorry I missed your call there. Ian says, if A-Rod, Lamar, or Tom Brady goes to the Jets, how high will you value Garrett Wilson? Also, how do you feel about Jackson Smith? Just hang tight on the wide receivers, bro. I'm gonna get to those. I'm gonna get to all the rookie wide receivers. I'm gonna take care of you there. I'm kind of holding off on commenting because I want all the wide receiver content to be fresh and kind of out of nowhere. I'm doing the rookie videos now. I'll do the wide receivers soon, and then the quarterbacks and so on. So hang tight on that. But to answer your first question, if Tom Brady, A-Rod, or Lamar end up in New York, Garrett Wilson probably remains where I have him expectation-wise, but my cost of entry and the risk level of going and getting him, I will increase that threshold quite a bit, meaning I'll take him at the 2-3 turn without a hesitation. Right now, I'm a little hesitant to take him at the 24-25 turn because I think I can get away with letting him fall a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So with Aaron Rodgers, Lamar, Brady there, I think there's no concern, and you're going to be battling other people for drafting him, and so you're going to have to reach high. And I won't concern myself making him my 3rd drafted player without hesitation. Thanks for your super chat. What are your thoughts on Zamir White and Isaiah Spiller next season? They're this season's rookie running backs that didn't get much opportunity. What about it? I think I like Zamir White a lot, but I don't know that the situation is going to be very supportive of him. If they said, hey, we're going to roll with him as our starter, then to the moon. Like we put him on the Moon Man list. I like Zamir White a lot. But, we don't know if he can stay healthy. So there's the injury risk that he comes with a little bit. Then you have the fact that if the Raiders let Jacobs walk, which they obviously are because he's a free agent, but I mean, if should I say Jacobs doesn't return after not getting what he wants in free agency and he doesn't come back, the Raiders might draft Bijan Robinson. The Raiders might draft somebody with that pick. So it kind of depends. Or they wait until the 2nd round and they take a Bigsby or someone else, and it just makes Zamir's value very cloudy. So my guess is that his value won't be what we want, unfortunately. And as for Isaiah Spiller, I called him a bust before he entered the NFL. His measurables were awful. He was at the bottom of like every statistical category at the combine. He was not faster statistically. He's not better or quicker or faster than any of the players on his team that replaced him when they spelled him. And so, like, if you look at his college stats, sometimes the reserves had better stats and output than he did, or at equal in most cases. Like, he did not separate himself from his own college team, and he couldn't separate himself at the combine unless he improved on all levels of his game through a miracle, through NFL coaching and just growing as a player and a person at the NFL level. And he just needed that, and I need to adjust and adapt. Like, unless I see something like that, like he's an absolute, bust in my opinion. And he kind of showed it, like he doesn't have the measurables at all. And at the combine, it was a really, really poor performance at the combine. I appreciate you, Isaac, dropping the super chat. Kelly Loco calling again. Lamar to Carolina would be kind of fire with Bijan, says TM42. TM, you still here? I'm sorry I didn't read that yet. TM42 dropping a super chat. Appreciate you, TM, for dropping that. Let me see if there's any others. I think there's one more super chat here. Rockout says check DMs. I'll do that right now. East Coast Tatty says live show for first, second round of the NFL draft. Of course, Tatty. We'll be live during the NFL draft. No doubt about it, bro. If A-Rod, Lamar, or Tom Brady goes to the Jets, how high? I think I answered that one already. Thank you very much for your super chats. Rockout. I got to get to Rockout super chat. Thank you, East Coast Tatty. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, TM42, for both your super chats. Thank you, TMT, for your super chat. Thank you, your boy Rick. And now we need to go to Rockout real quick and see what Rockout's voice message is. Rockout.
People thought we were going to stop. People thought we were going to stop just because the season's over. This is the fantasy football show. The new off days. We keep on going. We keep on flowing, and we keep dropping load. We ready. We bring out these moon man. They're going to show stop. They're not even going to see it coming.
By the way, Rockout's not affiliated with the show, but we are afraid when he drops all of his fire and bars that someone's going to come sign him to a record label and take him from us.
So you better stop, but we never stop. This is the fantasy football show. That's how we get it.
Thank you, Rockout. Appreciate Rockout to the moon. Thank you for dropping your bars, Rockout. You're always an inspiration to us all. Where am I at with this? I have Isaac. I think it took care of Isaac. Isaac had this. Will the Bills... Oh, here we go. Will the Bills let James Cook next season? Can he be a bell cow and a 3-down back? I don't know that the Bills view him as a bell cow and 3-down back. He could. The answer is he could, but I think the Bills are going to be maybe drafting another RB, and they just kind of do that. I think if the Bills acquired Jahmyr Gibbs or Charbonnet or someone like that, it would be to the moon. I think if they invested in a running back at that caliber, they would use them at a more full-time capacity, and they could throw to them, and it'd be phenomenal. Then I partly think, will they not use the running back enough? You know, like part of me loves it. It's kind of like KC. You think KC's a great landing spot, and then you're like, it's not. You know, so I don't know. The Eagles would be phenomenal, but I think it's possible he escapes and they draft a running back, but like in the 4th round or something like that, and he could fend off that running back. So it's possible. What else was I going to do real quick? Let's open the phone lines one more time.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right, dial into the show. Appreciate everybody that's here. Your boy Smitty will be glad to answer your questions. And let me see if I can hit the chat real quick. We got, I think, TM42. TM42, you're live, bro. What can I do for you?
Hey, what's up, Smitty?
What's up, man?
I got this fantasy playoff challenge. You got to pick one, and then you can't use them again in the playoffs. I was wondering what are your Super Bowl picks? And what's your strategy?
Yeah, so
for that kind of playoffs.
Yeah, tomorrow's show I'll be doing the projections for every single offensive player. But let me give you a kind of a rundown on what I expect. I think KC loses to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think both Mahomes and Burrow have good games. Give Mahomes two TDs and 300 yards, and I think he just has a little bit of struggle to outperform Burrow. So if I had to pick a quarterback between those two, I'd obviously pick Burrow. I think Burrow could have 3 TDs. Chase should have 1. Higgins should have 1. Burrow might rush for 1. Yeah. I could see him punching one in. He's scrambling a lot lately. He's running for 30 yards, 38 yards. He's been running a lot. I love seeing Burrow active and running the football. I think he'll have about 300 yards and 4 to 6 touchdowns per season going forward, Burrow. I think he's going to become like a Brady was not a good running quarterback, but he was an amazing, QB sneaker. Obviously he's the best QB sneak quarterback in the NFL, which is so weird because he can't run. But he's so good at getting that 1-yard plunge or getting a first down. I think Burrow starts to make a name for himself as a good QB sneaker, and I think on top of that, a little bit of a scrambler. 20 to 30 yard game is going to be common for him. Give me Mixon for 70 yards total. I just don't know how Mixon's gonna. He's just been very flat lately. Give me 3 touchdowns for Jamar Chase. Give me an interception, maybe a fumble. I think if negative points hurt you bad, I think the Niners D will create havoc for sure. But I think he's a weapon. The Niners struggle with running quarterbacks. I think he punches at least 1 rushing touchdown in, but I think he throws for maybe 2. I think give me Devontae Smith for 90 yards. Give me AJ Brown for 50 to 70 and a touch. Give me Goddard with a touchdown and 40 yards. The running game won't do much at all, so I'm not touching those Eagle running backs. That Niners D is stout against the run. Give me Deebo Samuel and I'll do all this tomorrow, and my numbers might change a little bit. But give me the Eagles to win. So I'd obviously pick Eagle players and Bengal players more than I would Niner and KC players. But I mean, it's gonna be a tough game. Deebo should have a tutty and 60 yards total. Christian McCaffrey, I think, will have about 100 total and a touch. Purdy has an interception. Mitchell has 30 or 40 yards. Kittle has 40 or 50 yards. I think Brock has a couple turnovers or at least one, and so does Hurts. I mean, both defenses are going to play tough, and I think at the end of the day, it's the Eagles versus the Bengals, and I think that we'll see similar numbers that the quarterbacks dropped the previous games in the Super Bowl. That's kind of my take, but I'm optimistic about all the scoring. Anything could be low scoring.
Yeah, I agree. I'm using all of the KC and San Francisco players so I can save the Bengals and the Eagles for the Super Bowl, because you can only use them once in this league. So, and I'm in 5th place, so I think I could just tread water for now and then just go all out, use them in the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? What else you got? Let's go to
Cool.
Terrell real quick. You can hang tight there if you get another question, TM. Terrell, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up? What's going on? So I'm doing a Dynasty league. This is my 2nd year in Dynasty, so I'm pretty new. This year we just added a taxi squad.
Okay.
I don't know too much about what taxi squad means and what kind of players I should put there.
Taxi squad is where you don't plan to use them. And usually when you elevate somebody from it, you can't put them back on the taxi squad. So essentially, let's say you wanted to put Kenneth Walker on there, like at the beginning of last year. He had the hernia surgery. He wasn't going to do anything for you for 3-4 weeks. You were thinking, right, walking into the season. So you want to taxi squad him, and it's kind of like putting him on IR in a way. Think of it like an IR spot in the way that it works and functions, and you can pick up another player. So you got this taxi squad player, but when you want to vault him from the taxi squad, you got to, like the IR spot, clear out somebody and bring him up. And then once you bring him up, you can't put him back down there. So it's just think of it like like an IR spot that has to do with a player that you've never elevated or used yet. And so you'll want to put players on there that you don't plan on using for a little while, that have a lot of upside. Like Isaiah Likely, I had him on a lot of taxi squads, and then I eventually elevated him when I had tight end injuries. Even when he was playing well, I didn't elevate him yet in 1 or 2 leagues because I didn't need him. But then once I needed a tight end, I elevated him, and then I couldn't do anything with him. He had to stay on my roster, So it's a tricky game of when to pull somebody up and when not to.
Okay, I get that. So you have to take them from the taxi squad, then put them in injured reserve. But I have 4 taxi spots and 3 injured reserve spots.
Yeah, they're not injured reserves. They're not related to injured reserve. I was trying to explain the process of an injured reserve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if you have somebody on IR, when you want to elevate them, you got to remove somebody from your team and make room for them.
Right.
I'm just saying it's the same thing. But taxi squad is not injured. It's just you don't need to use them yet. And you can't put somebody that's playing on your active roster all year on the taxi squad. It's got to be like a rookie, somebody who's never played. And then you're holding them there because you don't plan on playing them. They're developmental. And then once you activate them, you can't put them back on the taxi squad. So it's like a holding room for potential players.
I gotcha. Because essentially, to elevate somebody from the taxi squad, you're saying you're going to have to take someone off your roster, but you can't take like a guy like, I don't know, Cordell Patterson.
Right. Like look at like Kenneth Walker is the perfect example last year. Even though you knew you were going to eventually put him in your lineup, you didn't need him in the first couple weeks because he was on IR. So you were like, okay, even though I love him, even though he's going to eventually be in my lineup, I can afford to hold somebody else while he sits on my taxi squad because I've never used him before. And then once I use him, once you take the wrapping paper off, there's no putting him back in the box.
I gotcha. All right. Well, I don't know if I have any more questions.
I'm just checking news.
I could use some help on my team, maybe.
Yeah? Okay, hit me with it.
Yeah. I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback, and it seems like he wants to keep playing. So I don't know if I want to ship him away or not. Then I have Saquon Barkley and Najee Harris as my running backs.
Yeah.
And I have Brandon Ayuk and Christian Watson as my wide receivers.
I like your team.
And my tight end.
my
tight end. Say it again.
I'd probably move Najee. I'd try and move Najee, but I don't know what you're going to get for him. Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to get enough to be worth moving him. Just let him fall where he's going to fall. Have a cheap quarterback. He'll probably do well. He'll probably be a New York Jet by the looks of it right now. And would I trade Najee and in a future first rounder to try and get the 1, 2, or 3 rookie pick? Absolutely. Do I want Charbonnet? Do I want Gibbs? Do I want Bijan Robinson over Najee all day long? I'm giving up future draft picks to make that happen.
Oh, that's a smart move. Yeah, Najee Harris in the first round pick for a rookie.
Yeah, to get Gibbs or to get Bijan and to swap out that risk.
Right.
Garrett Wilson, I'd take Garrett Wilson over Najee, like as buy low right now, and then if A-Rod lands in New York, then you got that stack. But be careful with Garrett Wilson because they did hire Nathaniel Hackett, but I'm very hopeful at this point that that's going to just mean that Aaron Rodgers is coming. He's not the head coach.
Now, why be cautious of him because of Nathaniel Hackett? What kind of coach is he?
Well, he's the Denver head coach that destroyed Denver, the Denver Broncos.
That destroyed Russ?
He destroyed Russ. He destroyed Javonte. He ran a running back by committee into the ground until Javonte got hurt, and then he decided to get rid of Melvin Gordon when all we wanted was Javonte to start from the beginning. He's just a disaster. But
you think they're going to run the ball more?
No, I think they had. He doesn't. Let's just hope he has no decision in running back by committee or something with Breece Hall. I don't think he will.
Right.
I think Breece Hall's too good, but I think what it means is they're trying to bring in Aaron Rodgers is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think they will. And you can't hold Breece back. You got to keep him on the field for 3 downs.
Yeah.
He's a special dude.
All right, Terrell.
But what else is that? One more thing.
Yeah.
I need any rookie quarterbacks, or should we wait for the content?
Wait for the content, but Bryce Young and Stroud are the top 2 rookie quarterbacks. They're the top 2 NFL projected drafted quarterbacks. They're also my top 2 quarterbacks. But I got
their names again?
Stroud and Bryce Young. There'll be
Stroud and Bryce.
Yeah, Stroud and Bryce. There'll be a video coming out on that very soon.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right, later, pal. Appreciate you.
All right, later.
TM42 hang tight. I'll ask you one more question at the end here. Isaac, you got 30 seconds to a minute. Isaac, I got to get out of here.
Schmitty, my man, it's been a while. I've been trying to keep up and watch when I can.
Appreciate it.
I got a quick one. Keeper league, I get to keep 2. Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown.
I mean, Chase is a lock. I probably keep Kelce because the odds of drafting A.J. Brown back are better odds than drafting Kelce back, and that usually tells you what decision to make. You know?
I'm with you there. I mean, we get to keep him in the round we drafted him. So I drafted Kelce in the 2nd and AJ in the 4th, and then I traded for Chase. So I would get Chase ADP +1, which I'm assuming will be 2nd. So it'd be Kelce and Chase round 2, or AJ in round 4. That's the dilemma. Because I think you're right. I think I could get AJ again.
Traditionally, if you have to keep the players in the same round, they take your round above it, though. So if you don't have 2 second-rounders, you can't keep them. So you'd have to keep Chase as a first-rounder. So you want to trade into the second round to give yourself 2 second-rounders. But
well, the way my commish does it, it's 1 down. So I actually get to go 2-3, so I can still have a first pick.
Oh, 1 down. Okay. So I mean, A.J. Brown in the 4th round versus Kelce in the 2nd round is tough. Because that does make a difference. Chat, what do you think? Would you rather have A.J. Brown in round 4 or Kelce in round 2? If you get to keep your first rounder and you have Jamar Chase and Kelce, I don't know that I'm worried too much about the A.J. Brown value versus the Kelce little more expensive value, because that's 3 really good players. I mean, you have Kelce, Jamar Chase, and your first round pick.
I just feel like Kelce is also such a unicorn at that position, man. He just blows it out of the water. He's basically a wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know?
I probably
All right, my man.
I probably lean toward Kelce, but check the chat. The chat's going to vote on it. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye, no doubt. Take care.
All right, later. TM, any final words? Or is TM gone? I think TM left. All right, guys. I appreciate you all. I'm going to close the phone line down. Bull prediction or a Moon Man dropping tonight. Dropping a Moon Man tonight at the midnight show. We're dropping a Moon Man on the midnight show. You better be here for it. I'm live at midnight on Tuesday, Thursday, which is tonight, Friday and Saturday night. And I'm dropping a Moon Man on tonight's midnight Thursday show. I'm also live, like this show, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Every single Monday through Friday. I'm here for you. I work for you, 7 p.m. Eastern. I am also live whenever news breaks. So, appreciate you. Silver says Kelce round 2. Kelce. Everybody likes Kelce, it seems. Appreciate all the super chats. Let me just make sure I got them all taken care of. I did. I'll be live at midnight Eastern to bring you Moon Man number 9. Here's a look at your Moon Men currently.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
Space Monsters.
Space Monsters indeed. And here's a look at your Mars Men.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars Men.
The best strategy in fantasy football.
Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
The best strategy in fantasy football 2023, period. You take, in redraft 2023, you take Jamar Chase in round 1. You take Joseph Burrow or Bijan in round 2. You take the other one in round 3. And if you've got to trade up, I've got a video. It's called The Best Draft Strategy, I believe. It shows a picture of all 3 of these guys to tell you how to trade into it. If you can't organically draft all 3 in round 1, 2, and 3 because Bijan's going, let's say, at 14 overall or Burrow's going 15, watch my video because I tell you how to trade into the Mars Men by trading into 2 mid-second round picks instead of having a first, second, and a third. Appreciate everybody being here. Subscribe if you're new. Get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com to get your year-round rankings, bold predictions, trade calculator, one-on-one text advice, everything you need to dominate your league, tools, mock draft simulation will be up soon. I invented the mock draft simulator in 2003 in the fantasy industry. I also invented the first, to my knowledge, I've searched the earth to find anybody that had it sooner than I did, and they didn't. That's the reason I got into the industry, to be honest, is no one had a trade calculator. No one had an instant-based trade calculator that I could find on the web back in 2003. And I said, I want to make an instant-based trade calculator where you can click on a player and it'd tell you immediately. You didn't have to enter your roster. You just got to select this player, that player, these 3 players versus these 2 players, multiple player trade, this draft pick or this player. What's worth more in Dynasty? It's a Dynasty and a redraft trade calculator, and it's multiple players versus multiple players, 3 versus 1. Your boy Smitty invented it back in 2023, I believe, or 2003. So I've been doing this longer than most of you are in diapers. I've been doing this. JT, you're probably in diapers, but when I started working in the fantasy industry professionally, just letting you know. Appreciate you all being here. Whether you're new, whether you've been here forever, I'll see you live whenever news breaks, live at 7 p.m. and live at midnight. These nights right here. Moonman number 9 dropping tonight. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.